in this video here, I'm going to show you how to set up your SMS marketing to generate an additional 15 to 25% for your e-commerce store. So if you implement everything I'm going to show you in this video here, it's going to save you a ton of time, by shortcutting the learning curve from having to learn everything yourself. It's also going to make you a lot more money, from your SMS flows and campaigns. So this video is extremely important because people are giving you access to their highest form of attention, which is their phone. All right, so once you have their phone, most people check their messages right away. That gives you a ton more opportunities to stay in front of them, stay top of mind, and eventually convert them whenever they're sort of in their buying window. All right, so implement this, you're gonna make a ton more money without having to spend additional money on ads. First thing, if you want access to the doc, the link is in the description. All right, so right here, I just have a screenshot of one of our client accounts where they're getting 22% of their revenue through SMS. This is pretty typical. Anywhere from 15 to 25% is normal when you set this up correctly. And on this particular client's account, they're doing $22,000 per month. All right, so why SMS marketing matters. All right, so 98% open rates, everybody checks their phone, unlike email, which is, 20 to 40% is considered normal. So even if somebody signs up to your email list, you're getting a lot smaller of a segment of those people's attention than you would from somebody who they give you access to their SMS. 2-minute response time, so they read it right away. 15% conversion rate when you're properly, segmenting and targeting the right people, and 25% revenue boost, which is the potential monthly increase, as you just saw. All right, so why do you choose Klaviyo? And I get this question, and obviously the main platforms are PostScript, Attentive. There's a few other ones, but the best one in my experience is Klaviyo. And the reason why is it's a unified platform, all right? So it's just more efficient to, integrate the email and SMS customer journeys versus on one platform versus on two separate platforms. And things can break when you have things in two separate platforms and they just don't work how you intend them to. Oh, and also the customer support team on Klaviyo is way better than PostScript and Attentive. Powerful segmentation, so it allows you to create hyper-targeted segments based on behavior and purchase history. Obviously, you have a lot more customer data on Klaviyo than you would on something like Attentive, and you just have a lot more optionality on Klaviyo. Revenue analytics, all right, so it allows you to track performance metrics that allow you to adjust and optimize, and it's more accurate versus other platforms like Attentive, which has hilariously overinflated attribution metrics, and it doesn't really track a lot of the more important metrics that Klaviyo does. And overall, it's just the best SMS platform. It's better, it's cheaper overall for SMS than PostScript and Attentive, and doesn't lock you into long contracts. All right, so in my opinion, I think that Attentive is the worst. PostScript is okay, but Klaviyo is the best. I don't really see the value that PostScript and Attentive give, so I always recommend my clients stay on Klaviyo. All right, building your SMS subscriber list. All right, so most important is obviously going to be using an attractive offer. All right, that's the biggest lever you could pull. Most brands just give the basic 10% off. All right, so it's really high leverage to test out different things. Even if you're still giving them the same percentage off, you're just expressing the offer in dollar terms. That's one way you could go about it. Free item also typically works, like for supplement brands, and it really depends on the brand. For supplement brands, for instance, that could be giving them a free shaker bottle with their order, which might save you margins versus 10%. You could use cash back using the Fondue app. Most important thing is the offer. All right, number 2 is going to be optimizing your timing. You want the pop-up form to appear anywhere between 8 to 14 seconds most of the time. Some brands go more conservative, but you essentially don't want it to be appearing right away because that could increase bounce rates from people coming in on your organic social or Facebook. So you want there to be, decent delay. We found the sweet spot to be anywhere from 8 to 14 seconds. You also want to A/B test that as well. Multi-step form, all right, so you don't want to be asking for, their email and SMS all on the same page, on the same step of your pop-up form. You want to keep those on separate pages, all right? So ask for email in step 1 and then SMS in step 2. That's going to increase the compliance rates, or the conversion rate rather, and a clear opt-in process. So you need to make sure that explicit consent is added to the pop-up form. It should do it by default on Klaviyo, and we'll cover this here in more detail in a second. But yeah, so those are going to be the most important things to pay attention to. And to learn more about maximizing overall list growth for email and SMS, you can check out this doc over here. I'll also link it, in this video somewhere on the screen. All right, now you might be asking, all right, what are the automation flows that I need for SMS? So number one is the welcome flow. Obviously, this is the most important. This is your first touch point with new subscribers. And essentially what you want to do here is just deliver incentives and introduce your best sellers. I'll be showing you some examples for all of these here in a second. Abandoned cart flow. So technically this is split into two flows. So you have your abandoned checkout and your abandoned cart. They're triggered by two different things. Abandoned checkout is when someone starts checkout and doesn't purchase. Added to cart comes before that. They add products to their cart, but they don't start checkout. And essentially what you want to do here is just recover lost sales with timely reminders plus incentives if necessary. Browse abandonment flow. What we're doing here is re-engaging shoppers who have viewed different products but haven't added anything to their cart. So these people are going to be on a lower awareness level and lower sort of intent level than people who have added different products to their cart. They're still sort of shopping around. Post-purchase flow, all right? So you wanna build loyalty with thank you notes, shipping updates, and cross-sells. Win-back flow, recapture customers who haven't purchased in 60 to 90 days, although that timing definitely depends on the brand. That's just the typical sort of win-back flow range, 60 to 90 days. All right, so here's an overview. Now, you probably can't see it, but I'm gonna go into each one in depth here, starting with the welcome flow. So this is your most important SMS flow. Obviously, this is your first touch point, first impression with new people who just sign up to your SMS list. So you wanna make sure that you really optimize this. And here's how you set it up. All right, so this is the trigger sent SMS. You could use that, or you could use, joined, whatever your SMS list is. Trigger filters, subscribe to SMS marketing. Flow filters, place orders 0 times since starting this flow, has not been in this flow at any time. Settings, smart sending is off, quiet hours are on. Now this is gonna be important. If you don't have quiet hours on, you're gonna get people complaining about things being sent at like 6 a.m. or whatever. If they sign up at 6 a.m. and then the next day you text them and then they forget that they signed up, you know what I mean? Just keep your quiet hours on. And then you want to send SMS 1 immediately, and then after 1 to 2 days, you want to send SMS 2, and then after 2 to 3 days, send SMS 3. And the content of this is essentially, all right, here's your welcome offer, and I'll give you some examples here in a second. SMS 2 is basically going to be like adding some urgency. It's like, hey, your welcome offer is still waiting, it's expiring soon, etc. And then welcome offer 3, you're bumping up that offer. So if you offered them 12% off, you would bump it up to 15% off. It's like, hey, just to make sure that just because we wanted to get you started on, with the brand as soon as possible, we're giving you a one-time exclusive offer of 15% off. So expires in 24 hours. Let's just say that typically works pretty well. Here's an example from one of our brands. So welcome. So they're using a mystery offer just because in their case, their margins don't really allow them to go over 5%. So mystery offers actually gets higher conversion rates than just telling them, oh, like we'll give you 5%, because nobody really cares so much about 5%. Welcome, claim mystery offer with code MYGIFT. Offer applies to orders over $75. Offer value increases with order value. So it's sort of a tiered discount, and we've tested this out. This is the easiest way to phrase it and also, maximize the conversion rate. Shop now, and then website link. The abandoned cart / abandoned checkout flow for SMS. All right, so this is your second most important SMS flow. And in the United States, you can only have one SMS. And in other countries, you could have more. All right, so if you're selling in the UK, etc., so how you would set that up is with a conditional split based on what country they're in. So US, you only send one SMS. All right, so for the abandoned checkout, the SMS is triggered when they started checkout. All right, conditional split, and obviously the flow filter here is if they place order at any time in this flow, then they're removed from the flow. So conditional split can receive SMS marketing, settings, smart send off, quiet hours on. Oh, and also on this part, this isn't technically necessary because if they're not subscribed to SMS, like it wouldn't send them anyway, but just to have sort of a fail safe just in case. And then note can only send, all right, so this is what I was just talking about here. So yeah, if you sell to international clients, you would set up that SMS split. Time delay is going to be anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours. We typically see better success with 30 minutes for low AOV products. If you have a higher ticket product, typically the optimal time delay is going to be closer to 2 hours. And here's an example from one of our clients. So you've chosen some of our best items. Don't hesitate to bring a world of fun to your backyard. They sell, kids' playground equipment. Finish your purchase here. So direct call to action. All right, so link them to the checkout page and use the code, this to enjoy 3% off. And these are high ticket products, so 3% off for them is kind of a big deal. All right, the browse abandonment flow. All right, so this gets sent to anybody who has viewed a product but hasn't purchased. All right, and typically, how I set it up, I just put it into the email flow on Klaviyo, and you have your conditional split. Somebody who has received SMS marketing, they go down this yes path here. If they haven't consented to SMS marketing, they go down the no path, which is email only. So on the yes path, you get emails plus SMS, which you want to send immediately or send at the same time. Immediately, meaning 30 minutes after they enter into the flow. And then this one, same thing as with the abandoned checkouts. You can only send one SMS to people in the United States. So if you sell to international clients as well, I would also set up the conditional split here and send more SMS to your international customers. All right, so here's an example of the browse abandonment flow for one of our clients. So caught your eye on a specific item for your backyard. Our product name, and this is going to dynamically pull the name of the product that they were looking at. Now, you can't use this for abandoned cart because a lot of them will have added multiple different products. But for the browse abandonment flow, there's only one product that they're looking at. So you could do it here. So our, X product is a bestseller amongst our families, because they sell to families as their customers. Make it yours before it's sold out. And then basically we're just pulling the URL from the product that they were looking at. All right. All right, the post-purchase thank you flow. All right, so this one's pretty basic. Essentially, we're just sending a thank you text from the founder or member of your team. The main thing that you want to keep in mind here is you want to split it between new customers and returning customers. So I only put 2 in this example here, just, to simplify things, but you can extend this to, having 3 or 4 separate paths based on how many times they've purchased from you. So path 1 is they've placed order once overall time, meaning they're a new customer. Path 2, they're a returning customer. All right. And you can send this immediately. You can send it the next day. It doesn't matter too much, but I just put 1 day here just because that's sort of the standard. Flow filters, placed order 0 times since starting this flow, canceled ordered 0 times since starting this flow. Settings, smart setting is off, quiet hours are on. So you're gonna have this for all the SMS. And that is the overall layout. Now let me show you some examples here. All right, so hi first name, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the brand name family. We can't wait for your kids to experience the joy and adventure that our playsets bring. Get ready for endless backyard of fun. Best regards, the brand name team. All right, so this is new customers. Returning customers, obviously you want to be messaging them a little bit differently. And the whole idea of this is that it comes off as authentic, oh, like this person actually reached out to me to, thank me for my order. All right, that really goes a long way towards, building that brand connection with your customers. And a good way of doing that is splitting it based on, how many times they've purchased from you, as well as using things like first name, etc. And you're gonna have their first name if they place an order. Hey name, or welcome back first name. We're over the moon that you've chosen our brand for more fun-filled playtime. We value your trust and feedback. Feel free to share your kids' happy moments or ask us anything. We're here for you. Best regards, the brand name team. Right, so that's the post-purchase. Post-purchase upsell flow. All right, so this one's a bit more simple and you're only gonna be sending this to first-time customers, all right? For second-time customers and third-time customers, you're gonna have more sort of advanced flows that really depend on, your brand, product, et cetera, and also what sort of, special programs you have for, retention and loyalty, et cetera. But this one's pretty basic. Most brands could benefit from this one. And basically we're just sending them a one-time offer / upsell. Flow filters, place order equals once overall time, meaning if they buy a second time or third time, they're not going to be placed into this flow. Place order 0 times since starting this flow. Settings, smart sending off, quiet hours on. All right, and you can send this pretty much whenever you want. You could send this, after 24 hours after they place their first order. You can send it 15 minutes after they place their first order, or I've also seen success sending it a week after. It's something that really depends on the brand and something that you would want to test out. All right, the customer win-back flow. So the idea of this flow is basically just to reach out to people who are essentially lapsed customers, all right? And this is the time delay for that is going to vary for each brand, but this is somebody who's placed an order from you, once or twice, or if you're a supplement brand, they've been on subscription, etc. And then let's say they decide to stop buying from you one day and they go 90 days without buying from you, all right? So that's where this kicks in. We're going to message them via SMS, and we're also going to be sending out an email sequence. I'm going to be focusing on the SMS side, but as you can see right here on the left side, you can't really see it too well, but basically on the left side, we're sending to people who have given us email and SMS consent, and then on the right side is just email, all right? And you can afford to be pretty aggressive on this one just because, you want to convert as many people as possible before they churn. If they churn, they're worth 0, all right? But if they come back, then they have a decent chance of, going back on subscription or buying from you again after they receive the product, all right? And they're back in that sort of in your ecosystem. So all right, so trigger obviously is place order, and time delay before you send the first one is going to be 45 to 90 days. Depends on the brand/product and also when it makes sense to send that to your customers. Like at what point do you consider them to be lapsed customers? Flow filters, place order 0 times since starting this flow. Conditional split can receive SMS marketing. And again, that's just splitting people into the email only path and email plus SMS path. We have the same settings as the other one. All right, so SMS 1, 45 to 90 days. SMS 2 is going to be 12 days. And you can play around with this, but this is just what we've found to be the optimal sort of time delays for each stage. And then another 10 days after SMS 2, you're going to send them SMS 3. And essentially the emails here is going to be a reminder on SMS 1. Doesn't necessarily need to include an offer, but you just want to pique their interest. It's like, hey, we missed you around here. Check out what's new at the brand. Something like that. Or check out what you've missed. SMS 2, this is where you want to introduce that offer. All right, and then SMS 3, you want to remind them about the offer, but also let them know that it's expiring. It's like, hey, your offer is expiring in 24 hours. We'd hate to see you leave. So, we want to extend it another day, let's just say. You could play around with the wording, but the main thing is you want to implement urgency. All right, this is really sort of forcing them to make the decision. All right, do I ever want to come back to this brand? Because if you don't, they're not going to come back to you anyway. They're just going to forget about you. But you're going to convert a decent amount of people back to the brand and reactivate them as a customer, which obviously is more efficient than, more efficient than acquiring a new customer from scratch, right? All right, SMS shipping confirmation flow. All right, so this one's more transactional and it's not super necessary, but it's a nice thing to have, so I include it. Fulfilled order, and then 15 minutes, you send them SMS 1, and this is basically just going to, let them know that their order has shipped. And here's an example. All right, good news, all the items in your order, dynamic code here have been shipped. Click here to track your package, and then it gives them it dynamically pulls the shipping link for, their USPS delivery or whatever the case may be. So crafting high converting campaigns. So we just covered all the flows. Now we're going to be covering the other side of the equation, which is the campaigns. The flows, of course, being the automated SMS that gets triggered based on their behavior. And then the campaigns are these one-off campaigns letting them know, about different things such as, product releases, item restocks, or just giving them value, linking them to a blog post, etc. So product launches, create anticipation with teasers and announcements. Educational content, so sharing educational and valuable content related to your products, linking to longer form content, things like blog posts, etc., on your website. All right, that's the best way to share content because you don't want to send them a whole blog post in your SMS. Number one, that would cost a lot. Number two, that would annoy people, all right? What you want to do is basically just give a preview of like, hey, are you dealing with this problem? This article talks about the solution. Something that's basically how it works. And then link them to the blog post once they're on your website, they have a higher chance of, number one, buying from you. Number two, they also get entered into the different email flows and SMS flows as well. Flash sales, all right, so this is perfect for SMS due to immediacy and urgency. Also, what you could do is run a flash sale to your SMS list only, sort of, as a reward for them giving you, being on your SMS list. So it makes them, feel good. Also feels like, they're being recognized. And also you might not necessarily want to give a flash sale to the rest of your audience. So, but works perfectly for SMS. So you could announce the sale and then send them a sale reminder via SMS like the next day. And then 2 days later, hey, the sale's ending. And then, follow up with them that way works really well. Restock notifications alert customers when sought after items are returning. And this is basically, hey, the wait's over. This item is finally back in stock. Here's the link. Shop now before, while stock lasts, essentially. And typically you don't want to send more than 4 to 6 campaigns monthly, Tuesday through Thursday between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Typically works best. That's just on average, but each brand is somewhat different, so you're gonna have to test that out a little bit. And here's your step-by-step action plan. All right, putting all this together. So number one, you want to set up compliant list building. All right, collect explicit SMS consent by including disclosure language on your pop-up form. So it should add that by default on Klaviyo. It gives the whole, here's the consent form, here's what you're signing up to. So don't worry about that. Just make sure that you include it. Number two, you want to implement those core flows. Start with the 4 essential flow automations. So that's going to be, abandoned checkout, browse, post-purchase, and the welcome flow. And then you could add in all the other stuff, but they're not as urgent, let's just say. Plan campaigns. So you want to create a content calendar of SMS campaigns alongside your email campaigns to plan 2 to 4 weeks ahead. Measure and optimize, track flow and campaign performance, and refine your content, angles, and offers over time. All right, and this is where most of the long-term improvements and growth is going to come from, is by tracking, what type of content, what type of offers, best send times, etc., perform the best, and then just doing more of that, doing less of what doesn't work. And over time, that growth compounds and sort of stacks on itself, and that's how you get up to that, 25% of your revenue coming from SMS. Thanks so much for watching this in-depth breakdown on SMS marketing. Again, if you want a link to this doc, the link is in the description. And if you want to learn more about email and SMS marketing, other in-depth breakdowns on other topics, check out one of my other videos over here.